Artificial intelligence is everywhere right now, and some business owners are using it for everything. Others are avoiding it completely, and many are stuck somewhere in the middle, unsure when it actually makes sense to involve AI in their workflow, use it or not use it. Today's conversation is about clarity. Our guests will share a simple but powerful testing system that business owners can run against any task before bringing AI into the process. It's practical, strategic, and it helps answer one critical question: does AI belong here or not? And to dig into this important topic, which I think is a prequel to one we've done in the past, and I'll link to that below, is Dean Mercado. How you doing, Dean?
I'm doing great, Jeff. Thanks once again for having me back.
Absolutely. I like this way to test AI to see if it fits or not fits. You also said it can be your ace if it passes this
Yes.
test. So talk about that.
So let's start off this way. 2025, this past year, was a big wake-up call. It wasn't that AI is still coming. It was that realization of recognizing that it's here. AI is here. Uh-oh. Everyone's going to lose their jobs, panic, chaos ensues, that kind of thing. Everybody knows it now. So as we step into 2026, what's going to happen is what I call the overreaction year. Everybody's going to overreact to it. And I use an example of a pendulum all the time. And some business owners are going to swing hard to the right, where they're going to say, oh, we got to use AI for everything, right? Replace the people, automate everything, right? And Jeff, you and I have talked about how this is problematic when it's like press 1 for this, 5 for that, 12 for this, all the crazy automations where they're just removing the humanity out of every aspect of business and life. That's not what we're talking about. That's when the pendulum swings too far to one side. And then you got the other side where it swings all the way to the left. And you're going to have that camp over there that's like this, like back, like they're trying to fend off a vampire or something, right? I refuse to use AI out of, no circumstances whatsoever. This is what we're seeing out there. So you got that crazy pendulum all the way to the left, all the way to the right. What we're suggesting, because both of those camps lose. So what we're suggesting is this rhythm. And you and I have talked a little bit, Jeff, about this in the past conversations, because 2026 isn't about extremes. It's about finding that rhythm for you and for your business. Now, AI can be your ace in the hole. No doubt about it. It is in my business, big time. I wish you could climb into my world for a day and see what's going on over here. It's crazy, but it's fun. It's exciting. It's cutting edge. And it does what I say, clone the owner. I'm the owner of my business. It clones me, not biologically, but clones my genius and brings it out of me. And that's good. So how do we know? We got all this stuff crossing our plate every day, all day long. How do we know whether or not we should involve AI in it or not? Right? That's where this ACE test comes into play, right? So I want you to remember this statement, though. Power without a filter becomes chaos. Power without a filter becomes chaos, right? AI is power, right? Without a filter, it's chaos. So today I'm going to give you this simple little test. Run it against every test that comes across your plate today and see if this makes sense. You decide. Do I use AI here? Do I skip it? Right? So if it passes the test, you use it. Fails the test, you don't. That's simple. So let's dive in. A for ACE. ACE is an acronym. A stands for advantage. Advantage. The first question I want you to ask yourself: does this give us a real business advantage? If by using it, do I get an advantage? And I define advantage very simply. Does it make things better, faster, cheaper without lowering my standards? Better, meaning clearer thinking, stronger structure, fewer mistakes. Faster, meaning compresses time to the first draft, maybe first analysis, first versions of things. And then cheaper, reduces wasted labor, prevents rework, right? Lowers my cost. But here's the catch. If it makes it faster but worse, that's not an advantage, folks. That's accelerated mediocrity. That's not what we're talking about here. I do a lot of work with the cleaning industry, Jeff, as you probably have come aware over these past few years, where we use it, drafting SOPs, right? Creating onboarding materials, structuring proposals in the commercial side of business, especially analyzing cancellation patterns. We do a lot where AI comes into play. So if it doesn't create a real advantage, it's noise. If it fails the advantage test, don't use it, right? Second, the C stands for control. So the question I want you to ask yourself, do I stay in control? Because here's what companies get wrong, where they're kind of getting a little stupid. They automate something they don't fully understand. They let AI respond publicly without reviewing what AI is responding to. Oh, is that crazy? Oh, my goodness. And they let pricing get suggested without any oversight. They just think, set it and forget it, right? It's like that old commercial from, I don't know, decades back. Do you remember that? Was it Ron Popeil? Set it and forget it kind of a concept. You probably remember it, Jeff. And that's what we kind of got that on our brain still. Like, that's the way it's supposed to be. No. Control means a human has to verify it. A human edits it. A human approves it. You've got to own this. You've got to put your name on it. You better have control over it, right? So if you can't explain how the outcome was produced, you shouldn't deploy it, right? So again, this ties back into that. Press 1 for this, press 2 for that. That's a simplex example with the phone systems, but people are getting a little chaotic and crazy with how they're using AI right now, where it's like they're not even watching what they're doing. Oh, write a blog post for me. Boom, writes a blog post, and they have no idea what it says. They don't even read it. They post it. Are you serious? You're willing to sacrifice your brand that simply, right? So understand, AI can draft it. You still have to own it. The third big element, Jeff, is E for edge. And you got to ask yourself, start with this question. Does it give us an edge? Not activity, not volume, but a bona fide, true edge. An edge over our competitors, an edge over anybody who might stand in our way of the success we're looking for. So does it sharpen our authority? It's a big question. Does it tighten our execution? That's a big question. Make the customer experience smoother? Big question, right? Or does it make us sound like every other cleaning company or restoration company out there that's saying, yeah, we're the best. We care the most. We're the best quality. Come on, folks, right? In 2026, generic AI content will explode. You're going to see generic junk everywhere, right? And most of it is just going to blend in like a gray wall, like a gray something in front of a gray wall. Don't be that gray something in front of a gray wall, right? If AI makes you more generic, it fails the test. I train my AI extensively to give me an edge. Again, if you could be a fly on the wall in my business, and I just seen what I was working on this morning in regards to this, building my edge with AI, it's massive, and it's where you're going to get to eventually if you truly want to leverage this stuff. So if it doesn't strengthen your edge, overall, it weakens your position. So in summary, Jeff, advantage, control, edge. If it doesn't pass all three, skip it. You're probably better off not using it right now. And that you can use as what I call your fewer, better guardrail, right? Ta-da! How does that feel, Jeff?
Hold on. Advantage, control, edge.
Correct.
That's pretty easy.
Very easy. And that's the intention. And that's why this was a prequel, because a lot of people in my travels, they're asking me, they don't really know when they should use AI and when they shouldn't.
That's a good
question.
question.
I said, you know what? Let me put a framework out there that can give you a real simple guardrail. Stupid simple. You can remember, if I want AI to be my ace, it's got to pass the ace test, right? Advantage, control, edge. If it doesn't give me all three, I probably should reconsider using it. That doesn't mean that there's not anomalies or breaks in the pattern or breaks to that rule. But for the most part, I think that rule is going to stand up for you.
But I have one question to close with.
Sure.
I was thinking as you're talking about this, it's kind of analytical, it's strategic, but a business owner might let emotion get into this. Instead of being
Bingo.
strategic, they might think emotionally about AI and what it might do, or maybe what they're afraid of. How do you temper that? And that might be a tough question, but any thoughts there of what a business owner can do to separate emotion, keep it strategic and analytical?
It's a great question, and it's a huge, huge, huge problem on both sides of the spectrum. Both sides, the emotion gets in the way and stops them from using AI at all. And then you get the emotion that gets in the way that makes them think they've got to weaponize their business with AI in a way that it destroys the very soul of that business. Um, so it's a dangerous two-sided or two double-edged sword in that way. How do you tamper it is you've got to really look at, and you always got to stay true to what you truly want to have happen. What are you creating and why? Right? Business isn't only about profitability. It's important. It's very important, but it's also about a lot more. And once you add people into the equation, it's about a lot more, right? You're creating a family for most of us. You're creating, your own little ecosystem. So it is about, you have to tamper those emotions. If you're not sure, you should be working with somebody who calls you out on that. And AI is even great at doing that. If you're feeling emotional, run it at AI. It'll tell you you're being emotional because it thinks very logical. It doesn't think emotional, right? So I do that all the time because I'm one of those hot-blooded kind of guys, and I'm constantly very emotional and aggressive about everything. And sometimes just going back and forth with AI a little bit kind of drops my emotion. I know I learned a long time ago from one of my mentors in my early days about sitting on things. Let it breathe. Give it some breathing room, because when you don't and you act on emotion, it's usually not a good thing. Not in business anyway. You end up either offending somebody, pissing somebody off, losing a client, whatever it is. I don't know. Does this fully answer your question? It's a tough one,
Yeah, it
but
is. And you answered it perfectly. I think the solution is to step back and look at it and ask that question. Am I being emotional about this or strategic? What's the right way to go? And maybe ask those around you, maybe peers, your business coach, to tell you if that's the case.
yeah. And just remember, folks, it is about that pendulum. It's always a pendulum. You could either be lack of emotion or overly emotional. We don't want either. We want that sweet spot in the middle where we find balance, right? Our emotions make us who we are as well. So we don't want to lose that part of it, but we don't want to be overly emotional where it destroys the message in the first place. So the breathing, definitely. For me, I still play drums after 40 years. That's one of my avenues. I jump on the drum kit for a few minutes and I let it out, right? Another thing I do is I step outside and I walk. I get fresh air and I walk, especially if there's sunshine. Everybody's got to have their little outlet, their way of diffusing and calming it down. Those are two of mine. If they help you, great. Another simple one, breathing exercises, right? Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 5. Do that 5, 6 times in a row, across a minute, and you'll find that all of a sudden relaxation settles in a little bit. So whatever it takes, folks, I hope that helps.
It does. And we're going to now name you Therapist Dean.
That's what happens when you're a coach for over 20 years, folks.